Welcome to Worship at Calvary. We're so glad you're joining us today, whether you are here in person or online. We're the Hungnesses. I'm Kathy.
And I'm Darren.
I have the privilege of serving on Calvary's Church Council leadership team. Calvary has been my church home ever since a job with Prime West brought me to Alexandria 20 years ago. Our daughter Morgan was baptized here at Calvary, and now she's all grown up and attending college at UND. I can't believe it. What I love about Calvary is that when I walk in the door, people know my name. I can come in and they know what I've been up to. They greet me and with a smile or a hug, and I love having my church know who I am. That's what I love about Calvary.
What I love about Calvary is the feeling of comfort that I get when I'm in church. A lot of times, we've grown up as men, and we go to a church, and you feel like you have to act a certain way, or dress a certain way, or talk a certain way. Here at Calvary, you're taken at face value. Everybody just seems to be happy that you're here, and that makes things really comfortable. And I hope you can experience that comfort too.
Here are a couple ways you can get involved in our mission. Have you ever wanted to read the Bible? We all have. The problem is most of us aren't so sure just how to get started. During the month of June, the Calvary team is making it easy for us. They are walking us through the book of John in a unique way. By using the QR code on the screen or by going to our website, you can sign up to get a daily text sent to your phone with a link to a quick video devotion. Join us together and we'll figure out how to read the Bible.
The cost of housing in our community is higher than ever, so this summer, Calvary is partnering with our local Habitat for Humanity chapter to build affordable homes here in our community. 2 teams of Calvary volunteers will be on the job site helping with construction, but today, we want to invite you to join them. Would you help us build an affordable home for a family? Would you make a financial gift and help us raise the $3,000 needed to support 2 weeks of work on a house? Make a contribution today and help us give a family the security and stability that only a home can give. Scan the QR code on the screen to make your gift.
Whether you are new or have been a part of Calvary for a long time, we'd love to connect with you. For more information about Calvary, head out to our website, calvaryalec.org. There you can find out more and sign up for our weekly email list. And if you're looking to stay up to date on all Calvary has to offer, like and follow us on Facebook and/or Instagram. As we turn to worship again, thank you for joining us today. We're so glad you are here.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for being with us today. To get going today, here's what I want to do. I want to ask you a question. Do you think life has changed? Our lives have changed over the last 20 or 30 years? Maybe that's a ridiculous question. Of course, our lives have changed over the last 20 to 30 years. For example, here's a silly example. When you go to the airport 20, 30 years ago, you never used to have to take off your shoes. You never had to take off your belt. You never had to feel as though you were half naked walking through the airport, right? It just didn't happen 20 to 30 years ago. Or how about this one? 20 to 30 years ago, you actually had to go into the store to get your groceries, right? Now all you have to do is call it up on your phone and they'll take it out to you in your car. You can pick up your groceries. Or how about this one? You wanted to watch a movie. You're home late at night on a Friday night. You wanted to watch a movie. What did you have to do 20 to 30 years ago? You went to this place, Blockbuster Video. Now what do? You just sit down on the couch and you pull it up on Netflix. Here's another one my kids reminded me of the other day. 20 to 30 years ago, you had to watch the commercials. You remember that? Today, if you don't want to watch commercials, you never have to watch a single commercial. Or how about this one? You're putting together a compilation of your favorite songs so you can share it with your family, with friends. 30 years ago, here's how you did it. You made a mixtape. Anybody remember mixtapes? You probably got one from your girlfriend or your boyfriend. Today, what do? You go to Spotify and you put together a playlist. Last one, how about this? 20 to 30 years ago, there was no such thing as binge watching. You just couldn't do it. You'd watch your show, and guess what, kids? You had to wait an entire week to watch the next episode. You see, our lives have changed. Some of those ways are more humorous. Others are probably more meaningful. And some of the greatest changes in our lives, I think, actually have to do with this device we carry in our pockets. It has changed our lives. For example, 20 or 30 years ago, do you remember when you had to actually remember people's phone numbers? If you didn't remember it, you probably had one of those little address books. And when your friend would move, you'd cross out their address and you wrote it in again. And before long, you had to start all over because your address book was all scribbled on. Or how about this? 20 to 30 years ago, you couldn't do this. You just couldn't take a selfie. It wasn't a thing. 20 to 30 years ago, there was no text messaging. You actually would talk on your phone. You'd leave this thing called a voice message. 20 to 30 years ago, this never happened. Your president never communicated to you over Twitter. And lastly, but probably most importantly, 20 to 30 years ago, when you were on vacation, you were actually on vacation. You could actually unplug. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. Our lives have changed because of technology and because of this thing called social media. We're in the midst of a series that's called Unplugged. And I shared this a couple of weeks ago. This series is really personal for me. It's personal because I'm the sort of guy that is always on the go. I just am. I'm a type A, Enneagram 3, achieving sort of guy. I've always got my list of things to do. I've always got projects to accomplish. In fact, a staff member just the other day, in a vulnerable moment, he said to me, you know what? I bet this series is really hard for you. And it is. But here's what I've realized about my busyness. I've realized that it can be unhealthy because too often I'm plugged in to the wrong sort of things. And so we've created this series, and I hope it's helpful for you. Behind this series is just a simple premise that God didn't create people like you and me for busy. God didn't create us to be distracted all the time, to be strung out, to feel like we're just running the rat race. And so we created this series, and we started it a few weeks ago. And over the last couple of weeks, here's where we've been. The first week we talked about how do I unplug? How is it that I do that? Second week, we talked about this, how many of us were too busy for what matters most in our lives. We live lives and we don't prioritize the things that matter most. Last week, Angie gave a great message on being distracted, how whether it be social media or it be all the opportunities we have in our lives, we live lives constantly distracted. And today, what I want to do is shift a little bit, and I want to talk about how social media and technology actually have changed us. Whether you are somebody who is on social media, or maybe you're someone who said, no, I'm a Luddite, I'm not getting into technology, I'm not doing that social media thing. The fact of the matter is it has changed us. So today I'm going to talk about how it is many of us are living for likes, and next week I'm going to wrap it up by talking about how is it we live an unfiltered life in a filtered world. Now, before I get into the conversation today about social media and technology, here's what I want you to know. This is not intended to be a rant about technology and social media. In fact, I want to suggest today that actually social media has been a really positive thing by and large. For example, here at church, we leverage social media and technology to reach thousands of people every week with the love of Jesus. Hundreds of people will view this service online and hear a message of hope that's helpful in their lives. It's a positive thing. For example, how many of you have reconnected with a high school or college friend because of Facebook? And now you know everything that goes on in their lives. You know what happens in their kids' lives and their grandkids' lives. You even know what goes on in their cats' lives. Why? Because we are connected with this thing called social media. I love that I've got this tool in my pocket, and I can connect with my sons anytime I want. Anytime I can send them a note of encouragement. I can remind them that I love them. I love that. But the truth is, social media, technology, is changing us. And especially as Christian people, we should be aware of that. Now, I'm going to borrow heavily today from a book by a guy named Craig Groeschel. The book is called #Struggles, and the subtitle goes like this: Following Jesus in a Selfie-Centered World. I love that title. In this book, he suggests that again, social media is changing us. One of the ways social media is changing us is in this way. The term friend is evolving. The term friend is evolving. Maybe some of you are old enough to remember when a friend was somebody that you did life with. It was someone you went to summer camp with, you skipped class with, someone you shared inside jokes with. Well, today we know that term is changing. Most Americans, on average, have around 338 friends on Facebook. Here's what's interesting. When they study Americans today, they ask them, how many close friends do you have? Americans, by and large, suggest that they only have 2 close friends. 25% of Americans suggest that they have absolutely no close friends. And this is all down from 2 decades ago when people would say they had around 6, 7 people in their lives they consider close friends. You see, social media technology is changing us. What does it mean that we are people who have this wide swath of people we call friends, but we're intimate with few, if any, people in our lives? You see, the term friend is evolving. The second way technology and social media are changing us is this. We can do friendship on our own terms. Let's just say you text me. I get to decide whether or not I'm going to respond to you. You send me a note on social media or you put something out there. I can choose whether or not I'm going to give you a thumbs up, I'm going to give you a smiley face, or I'm going to give you a thumbs down. I get to choose. I can even choose, let's say if you're posting too many political rants, I can choose to unfriend you. You post too many things about some product you're trying to sell me, I can unfriend you. You post too many pictures of your cat, I'm going to unfriend you, right? We can do friendship on our own terms. We control. That's a change, a significant change in our world. Now, again, I don't want you to see this as a rant against social media because there are a lot of positive things about it. I'm not suggesting we all sort of sell all our technology, sell our homes, and go buy a farm and live with the Amish. But the truth is, technology, social media, it's changing us. The last way I want to suggest that technology and social media are changing us is this way. We're addicted to immediate affirmation. We are. I, right now, could take a selfie of myself and I could post it on social media. And within 15 to 30 seconds, people would start responding. They might respond, hey, Pastor, I love this message. They might respond, hey, I love our church, or Pastor, I love your haircut, right? They could put all those kinds of things. And I sit there and I get really excited. I have a dopamine rush because people are responding to me. And then along the way, someone might say, hey, Pastor, why don't you quit posing and start preaching? And they might put a thumbs down or an angry face. And then it throws me into a tizzy. You see, it has us addicted to getting this immediate affirmation, an immediate response from people. And it has us thrown in a tizzy wondering, do they like me? Do they like me? I wonder why they don't like me. You see, many of us, I think here's what's true. We're living for likes, but when it comes down to it, what we really want in our lives is connection. We want to know we're loved. We're living for likes, but we're longing for love. So here's what I want to talk about in the time I have left. Is that all? I mean, is that what the future is? We're all simply on social media, on our technology, just longing for people to hit that little thumbs up button, to tell us that we are somehow liked, and then to need to get more of that again and again and again. I wonder if we have a God who has a bigger picture for our lives, that wants something so much more for us. If we turn to the book of Matthew, there's something interesting about the book of Matthew. At the very beginning of the book of Matthew, of course, Matthew tells the story of Jesus' birth, and he does it in a unique way. He points to what the prophets said about this child that was coming into this world, and it sets the stage for how Matthew talks about the life of Jesus. In the book of Matthew, chapter 1, it says this: Joseph, son of David, the angel said to Joseph, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. But then the author of Matthew, he does something really interesting. He points back to what the prophets said. Listen to what he says. He says, all this took place to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophets. Look, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall name him, listen to this, Emmanuel, which means what? It means God with us. Crucial to understanding Jesus to Matthew was that this God came down to earth in Jesus to be with us, to eat with us, to spend time with the outcast, with the margin, to laugh with us, to play with us, to care for and with us. The whole point of Jesus' life in Matthew was that God didn't stay up on the mountaintop. God didn't shout God's love from the mountaintop. The way God showed God's extreme and extravagant love to us wasn't to stay on the mountaintop and to shout it out, to proclaim it. No, the way God showed God's love for us is that God came down and was present with us. You see, here's the thing about Jesus. Jesus knew the power of being present, the power of being face to face, shoulder to shoulder. Maybe that's why Matthew later would say these famous words, for where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, Jesus said, I am there among them. You see, Jesus knew the power of presence, what it did to us, how it changed us when we're shoulder to shoulder, face to face with one another. The book of Hebrews is all about this argument the author is making, that all of us have the ability to connect with Jesus. But he says it in a really unique way. The way that we can connect with Jesus, he says this. He says, and let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds. And then he says this, listen, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. When he says how it is we can connect with Jesus, it's by gathering together, not neglecting face to face, shoulder to shoulder, across the table sort of time with one another. Why? Well, because where 2 or 3 are gathered, Christ is present. You see, it's all about the power of presence. For the author of the book of Matthew, Jesus was all about this. God didn't shout his love from the mountaintop. The way he showed his love was to be present with you and with me. So here's what I want to wonder. I want to get sort of practical. What does this mean for us? Those of us who, these phones aren't going away. Social media, technology, it's not going away. So if you don't mind, for the next couple of minutes as I wrap this up, I want to get really practical. What does it look like for us as people whom God is inviting to be present, to be people who know the power of presence, who are connected deeply and know the love of God in each of our lives? How do we do that? How every once in a while do we unplug? 2 things I want to share with you. The first is this. I think God invites you and me to be present. Now, that might sound ridiculously simple, but think about this for a minute. Imagine you have a friend who's hurting. Maybe they lost a loved one, or maybe their marriage is on the rocks. Maybe their kids aren't turning out the way they hoped they would. Now, it's 100% acceptable in our world today to grab your phone and to simply shoot them a text. Hey, I just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. Now, you could do that, but I wonder, as followers of Jesus, I wonder if the stakes are a little higher. I mean, think about it. Think about it. When Jesus was calling his disciples and telling them what it meant to be his disciples, here's what he said. He said, I give you a new commandment that you what? You love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you what? You love one another. It seems to me that Jesus says we don't just care for one another. We don't just send texts to one another, right? He sort of raises the bar if you consider yourself a Christian. So what if it, for us who consider, if you do consider yourself a follower of Jesus, when that friend is hurting, what if you were to pull out your phone and look up their contacts? And do you know this? Your phone can actually make phone calls. What if you were to call them? Because when you make a phone call, you can listen to them. You can care for them. You can communicate with them. And what if we raise the stakes even higher, Christian people? And what if you were to sit down face to face with them? To sit across a table from them? Face to face, you can give one another a hug. You can cry with one another. You can put your hand on their shoulder. You see, this is how we love one another. Have you ever had that experience where you were hurting, you went through a tough patch, and somebody showed up for you? Have you ever had that experience? As a pastor, I get called into situations where people are hurting all the time. And I got to admit something to you. When I'm called into those moments, there are times, more often than not, where I'm not quite sure what to say, but I show up. And I might say something, I'll vomit something out, and then as I leave, I'm kicking myself because why did you say something so stupid, right? But here's what almost always happens. A day or two later, when I reconnect with that family, they say, Pastor, I'm so grateful for your presence, right? I think I didn't say the right things. And what they say to me is, we're just so grateful you were there. It reminds me of the power of presence. It's not the words we use, but it's that we're willing to show up. So what if, Christian people, what if you and I, we were willing to love people face to face rather than thumbs to thumbs? Would you take this oath with me? Would you say this with me? I will love people face to face, not just thumbs to thumbs. You see, here's what I think. We have a God who invites us to be present. Second thing I think God invites us to is this. God invites you to be engaged. To be engaged with the people around you. Not all that long ago, I was at a restaurant, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this family of four walk in. They sat down at the table. They immediately, all four of them, pulled out their phones. And do you know, for the entire meal, not one of them talked to one another. Here's what I realized as that family sat there. You see, they were alone together. Each of them were alone. And here's what occurred to me. They were missing out. You see, the thing they were searching for on their devices, some connection to someone or something, they missed out on what was right in front of them. The thing they were actually searching for, it was right there. But instead, they were alone together. Now, there's a good reason that we get so addicted to our phones. In America, we might call it FOMO. Have you heard of this before? The fear of missing out, right? We have the fear we're going to miss out on what this person posted or that person posted or this celebration or that person's pet picture, whatever it is, we have this fear of missing out. And I think we as parents and as grandparents we're actually the worst at this. Here at Calvary, we have a playground, and I love every once in a while just watch the kids out on the playground, but more often than I want to admit, I see parents come and get their kids playing, and then they sit down at the bench. Grandparents, they sit down at the bench, and you know what they do? They pull out their phones while their kids are playing. You see, I honestly think we have some displaced FOMO. Rather than having FOMO for what people are posting on social media, it seems to me that we should have the fear of missing out on our kids' lives. We should have a fear of missing out on intimacy with our spouse. We should have fear of missing out on the lives of our grandkids. You see, I think we've got displaced FOMO. Way back when Jesus was telling his disciples, hey, this is what it means to follow me. It means to love, he said, it means to love one another. The author of 1 John, he writes this, let us love, not in word or speech, but in truth and what? And action. Those ancient Christians that we tell the stories of, they were persecuted. And amid that persecution, the one thing that bound them together, that unified them, was a love. It was this love that caused them to be present whatever they faced. They ate meals with one another. They shared life together. They traveled together. They lived together. And they made sure that not a single person was in need in their community. And here's the unique thing. As the world watched those ancient Christians, I think they all said something like this. I don't know if I believe what they believe. I don't know if I believe their story, but I certainly want what they have. You see, here's the thing about Jesus. He was all about love because he knew that it was the one thing that bound us together. And the way that we share that love, the way we connect is by the power of being present with one another. As I close today, here's the truth. I want to end where I began. This is deeply personal for me because the truth is social media, technology, they have a hold on me. And they have a hold on too many of the people that I love the most. Too many of us, we're living our lives for simply these things. We're living our lives for likes. We're living for likes. Well, all we really want, if we're really honest, all we really want is some of this, a whole lot of this, maybe a little more of this, some of this, and man, don't we want this? You see, way back when Matthew told the story of Jesus' life, he said this Jesus is Emmanuel, which means God with us, God present. God came in flesh and blood. He didn't shout it from the mountaintops, his love for us. Instead, the way he showed his extreme love for us was to be present, to come down in this one Jesus who came and did life with us. He loved us. He ate with us. He laughed with us. He loves you, and he loved me. Amen.
Hold on to me as we go, as we roll down this unfamiliar road. Although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone. I'm gonna make this place your own. Someday it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons that fill you with fear. The trouble it might drag you down, Thank you so much for joining us for worship today. Please join us in praying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to worship today, especially to those of you for whom this is your first time with us. We're just honored that you chose to spend this time with us, and we'd love to connect with you and invite you to take a next step. Easy way to take a next step with us is to head out to our website, calvaryalec.org, and there we invite you to hit the button that says sign up for emails. Maybe it sounds a little silly, but this is a way that you can find out about all the opportunities, all the ways that we can get connected here at Calvary. Head out to the website, calvaryalec.org, and hit the button that says sign up for emails. As we close today, I want to say thank you for your generosity. It's incredible what we can do because of the incredible faithfulness of so many people here at Calvary. As we do every week, we close with our offering. You can make your gift today in any of the ways on the screen. You could head to our website, calvaryalec.org, and hit the button that says give. There you can make a one-time or reoccurring gift. Another way to give, it's really easy, is with that app on your phone. It's called Venmo. You can simply find our handle, which is on the screen, and shoot us your gift. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can also write a check, drop it in the mail, and if you're not certain how to make your gift, just give us a call. We'd love to help you live the generous life that God calls us all to. Folks, thanks for tuning in today. Have a great week.